So, for
Can we turn that into a? Do they have a mobile app?
I don't know if they do, but you certainly could turn that into a mobile app.
I think I'm going to now. It would only be able to be released on Android, though. That would never get past.
Well, you could create a player that toggles between, instead of it being that or that. Well, you could even call the app that or that.
This or that.
Yeah, this or that.
Yeah.
Where you basically it plays a JSON file that you feed it. It just has a whole bunch of things with the true or false toggle.
And you don't put it the game mark on it.
Right.
You can
It's
approve.
Yeah.
like baseball team or hockey team.
You can make that for the Apple TV. Play as a group.
So what is a PF user?
I think I might actually make that.
Everybody in here should. Huh? It's a who? Yeah. Yeah.
Username,
It's
password,
parse's object for holding a user that's logged into the system or when you're registering for the system. So when you wrote your registration page, you generated a blank PF user, you filled it up with some crap, and then you told him to save himself in the background, right? When you logged in with somebody, you read in the username and the password, you filled it into a PF user and told them to authenticate in the background. Same thing, right? So PF user is the object inside of parse that holds information about a user. Okay. So did everybody except Levi get that right, hopefully?
We'll go through the answers right now.
What? No. All right. So what was your homework assignment?
Literally the object ID show up when you log in.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So that was testing that you knew how the singleton worked, right? So right now, inside of our login VC, after you've logged in, so we had some error messages and crap like that pop up, and we messed around with the show alert, even though it was brought to my attention that it might have made more sense just to put like a little red label and set that to an error message. But now we have the show alerts and our own little version of Toast from Android that pops up on the screen just with a little message. So here's our PF user login with username and background. We pass it the username and the password, and it does its magic. If we were able to log in, we're currently printing out the user that logged in, and we're just printing out the object ID of that guy. And now we go ahead and load the second screen. Okay, so right now that second screen takes us right here, and we just have a hard-coded label that says user logged in. So we want this label now to show the object ID of the person who was logged in. That is the object ID that we're printing out here. We need to get to that second screen. Okay, we're going to do that through a singleton. Do I ever have a singleton? Here's phone core. So we have our phone core here, so we'll go ahead and we're going to create a static PF user. I'm sorry, static var. Let's see. Let's call this current user, and this guy is going to be a PF user, and we're going to have to import parse in here for him to be happy. All right, so then we'll go ahead and set that user. I'm lost. Where were we? Login. Yeah. You see? So instead of printing out the object ID here, we're going to go ahead and say phone core dot current user is equal to user. So we'll actually just store the entire user so we have access to him. You actually have access to him through parse anyways. You can ask any page on the screen because there's a session that gets associated with parse. But I don't know, I kind of like storing it myself. It's just a pointer, so it's one extra little memory address. So in any case, we'll store it up in our phone core, and then we'll go on to our next screen, and that is what? This user homepage VC. And this guy doesn't have any outlets yet, so we need to go into our storyboard. Here's our user homepage guy, and have we already set him up as being that class? Yep, user homepage VC. And so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to give this guy, we're going to give ourselves an outlet to this label. So we have an outlet, and we'll call this current user label. Go back into this guy. Go into view did load, and we'll say current, well, I like to say self dot, but whatever. Current user label dot text is equal to phone core dot current user dot object ID, and I'm going to put an exclamation point after that, otherwise it'll surround it by optional and all that jazz. That should be it. Does somebody remember what the username I used was?
I'm sure you have a few on there. People.
I use
Awesome Fed, ABC.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would surprise me. Log in, and there's my, so that's the homework assignment.
And then uploading it took longer.
The what?
Uploading it.
Uploading it to what? To,
GitHub.
it shouldn't have taken longer.
It took longer.
That should take less time than what we just did.
But you gotta make a new branch, then you gotta push it.
You made another branch for the homework assignment?
You can't upload it because the code bases change differently, and it just like throws issues.
What? What are you even talking about?
If I upload it to my one master branch, it will throw errors. I have to go through all the different things and say, oh yes, accept this one, or accept this one, or I could just make a new
I
branch.
think you just have trouble using GitHub.
What do you mean the
I
master?
don't have any problem just pushing it to a master.
Yeah.
As long as you start, as long as your project starts by being equivalent to what your master is.
Right, but it wasn't.
So what you do is when you
I keep downloading yours, and I'm just like, oh, I'm not even gonna bother with
I
that.
understand. Gotcha. So, but when you sit down, you just do a pull from yours,
yeah,
right?
of
And
course.
then I get it. So you're downloading mine as your starting point, which then breaks from you having to when you upload it. Although, can't you? You could just create a new branch here
You
real
can
quick.
merge, yeah.
You don't even have to do that. Just create a new branch and call it homework with the date
that's
on
what
it
I
or
do.
something like that, and then you can push it. So that should still be fast.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is like 30 seconds to make that.
Yeah, but that was 12 seconds.
But then you had to fill out the little assignment template and all of that.
Oh, so you mean submit the entire thing, not just to get. I can maybe agree with that. Which is nice. You actually filled out the.
I did.
Oh, I'm so proud of you.
It took a while. It really stressed me out.
Did it? Good. All right. So, somebody remind me, what were we even trying to accomplish with this? So now we're logged in. Were we ultimately going to save roles? Is that what we're going to do? Save them in the cloud?
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're on our main screen here. User's been, the user is logged in. We'll just keep that kind of up there like that. Let me hide this. And now we want to go ahead and we want to grab all the roles that are associated with this user. Now, we kind of have to bounce back to the watch side of things now, because if we're on the watch and we do a role and we come into the app, what if we're not logged in the app? Right now we can only get to our app. So here, let's kind of create this scenario. I think, what is it, main TVC, this guy is where we set up the, that's our defaults. Yeah, here's our var WC session. So let's actually put our watch connectivity inside of our user homepage. So now we are not connected to the watch unless we're logged into the app. This is the scenario we want to create. Because we want our watch to only be able to talk to the phone if we're logged into the phone. Well, the idea is that when we sit down to play Dungeons and Dragons, we're in serious mode. We just want to have the Apple, the Apple Watch out. Okay, and actually later on, we want to roll the dice. We want to just be able to go like that, and that rolls the dice. That's going to be, people are going to be jealous, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
But now we need to think about how's that communication going to work with the actual phone if we don't actually log in and if we don't connect to the watch until we're actually logged in. So let's go into I'm lost again. All right, main TVC, there's our watch connectivity. So let's go ahead and get our var session and we'll set this guy up inside of user homepage. Not that guy. And then does this guy also has to implement these various session delegate stuff. Not the table view stuff. Well, he will eventually, but just the session stuff for right now. So he's not just a view controller, he's also a session delegate person. All right, and we'll go back to this guy. So here's our session did receive message. Put that into our user homepage. All right, and right now we're receiving some stuff up here where we're setting our user defaults and stuff. But for right now, let's just go ahead and dump all this. And we're just going to print out the message we receive. So let's just do, actually, hold on, what was the name of the message? Message was a role. So here, I'm going to just steal the message. Let's print. Oh, sorry. I don't think I need to do the as string there. I think that guy should work. Okay. So that's all we'll do is we'll just print to the screen whenever we receive a message. Okay, so for right now, let's go back to our watch. So let me organize some of this stuff here. Well, actually, let me go into main TVC and let's make him no longer be a watch connectivity dude or WC session dude. Get rid of that. We'll get rid of that. So we're going to rewrite these parts. Here was our test object stuff that we were messing with when we first started. Okay, we do need to move some of this stuff. Here's our. We need to put this inside of viewDidLoad of our user home. So that will actually register that guy with the WC session. Go back into main TVC, so we'll get rid of it from here. We should build now. All right. So we're never actually calling main TVC right now, or at least not for any sort of good reason. So we shouldn't have to worry about that. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back over to the watch side and look when a message is actually sent. I think it's sent after we do a roll. So let's go into our, that's our example stuff, support objects, code behinds, main screen IC. Generate table. Here, did select row at index. So if we're currently doing a roll, we'll go ahead and do our roll. Then we're going to send the message a roll, and that should end up being received on the phone side of things, right? And then, you know, everybody's happy, I guess. So for right now, let's go ahead and get our watch reloaded. So we'll do that guy. So we don't need to change anything on the watch. We just wanted to, oh, beautiful. How is the storage full? From those gigantic, whatever images? The dice images? Did we have Qbert in there too? I think we had Qbert. Qbert was in 4K.
5K.
Okay, so I have the watch app running now, so now we're going to switch back over to our target for our phone, just not kill off the watch. So we're going to be sitting outside of the login for the phone, right now, so we're not logged in. Eventually, okay. Not going to actually log.
I don't understand. We sitting outside of the login for the phone right now, so we're not logged in. But I could search the web for it.
What?
Yes, please.
That's what I figured.
I thought you said you'd search the web. Hey Siri. Okay, so random conversation she wakes up to if I actually use the right command, nothing. Crappy Apple products. I might as well have a rooted Fire tablet running native Android that you say is sick that you still delete. I get it.
I mean, it would fit in your
Hey
pocket.
Siri,
Would fit in
why
my
does
pocket.
Lippman hate me?
Didn't even finish it. Siri's got my back.
Why does Lippman hate me?
Here's what I found on the web for why does Lippman hate me.
Why does Satan hate me?
Oh, that just made my day. Christian worldview. Exactly. Star for the day. For you're not Beyonce Prime anymore. Just Beyonce. You got to earn the Prime. Got to earn the Prime back. Hey, look, I don't make the rules.
I'll tell you a funny story.
I don't make the rules.
Okay. But I wanted to tell you why my cat loves me.
Why your cat loves you?
I woke up this morning and I was grabbing my notebook that I use in this class.
And he grabbed his cat's balls.
No, just kidding. And my cat puked all over my notebook. I didn't take a picture though.
Yeah, so like literally it's like kind of the equivalent to the dog ate my homework, but the cat puked in my notebook.
It's in my garbage can right now, yeah. She loves me, I swear.
Is your cat mean?
No.
Really?
Not at all.
Man, we should lock your cat and Gracie in like a small bathroom.
Does your cat
Gracie
still-
would
does Gracie
probably-
still have her claw?
Oh yeah.
Oh, she tear my cat.
Yeah. Well,
Like
your
the rabbit's front.
Well, isn't your cat a kitten, like little?
Not little.
It's full grown?
Not yet, but
Oh.
big.
Oh, I mean, Gracie's
Not
huge.
Gracie. Gracie's like 11 pounds, okay?
Oh, Gracie's not 11 pounds. She's way more than that.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
30?
No, Gracie's
40?
lost a bunch of weight since she was sick, but I think she's still 14 or 15 pounds.
My cat's like 8, maybe.
Gracie's gigantic. Okay, so in any case, we're logged into our phone app, so we should have the console associated with our phone app here. But now we're going to go over to the watch and just roll one of the things and see if we get a message. Because that message, we don't actually have our app registered with the, we don't have it registered with the callback for our watch communication until after we're logged in. So let's see what behavior we get. So we'll roll for initiative here. There's our roll. We sent the message, but nobody received the message. All right, so we'll hit OK here. So let's go ahead and log in now. All right. Log in. Now we're in there. Let's roll again. Now we received both messages. Okay, so if we want to receive the messages, we have to come in here and actually get the messages, but our app will not natively just receive the messages. Before, if you remember, let's just remember rather than me having to change it back. I didn't even have to launch the phone app if I didn't want to. Okay, in order to get it out here to the console, I would have to launch it so I could see it. But as soon as I launched it, we'd have all those messages that had been building up. Those were stuck in the queue of messages, like we just got 2 right here. Make sense? All right, so when I actually come into the app and I actually log in, I'll get all these messages. And that's good for us because, well, we can say it's good for us. What if we want messages associated with individual users? Now we need to make our watch associated with users in case you share your watch with other people. Look, some of these examples we have to force pretty hard.
I think you're really pushing that one.
What's up?
Phrasing.
Right.
Some of these examples we have to push pretty hard.
Did I say force or
yeah,
push?
Force pretty hard.
Oh, they're even worse.
Yeah, I know.
Christian worldview.
So first you're going to share your watch with someone, which is unlikely enough, and then you're going to bank on the fact that they're also going to use
Using.
the D&D dice roller app.
Whereas someone that you would
Okay, so let's try to be practical. Let's try to be practical. So the idea is that I have. No, I get it. Okay, so the idea is I have.
What if you have multiple characters though?
Oh, how about this? How about we don't do it through watch communication? What if we have the watch talk directly to parse? So
faster with the screen updating thing.
with the who?
This is a joke. Before we did that,
Oh, for the label?
thing was taking like
Yeah.
10 seconds
Well,
for it to-
are we saving are we just saving our roles to parse and that's it? Or are we
We're not actually doing anything at
no,
this point.
is that the intent, or do we?
Well, that's what I'm getting at here. So maybe we do that. Maybe when on the watch, when we roll, we save that roll to the, maybe we get to the point where we are in a different character. Different characters have different roles and things like that. But, let's just assume we only have one character right now. We're going to store it in parse from the watch. This will actually be an interesting thing in order to store your roles, because now we ask the question, how do you log in with the watch? Actually kind of becomes an interesting thing. So, logging in is not required to use parse. Having the object ID of the current guy is what's required to use parse. In order to save it, associate with a particular user. Having that application key, this guy here in app delegate, this is required by parse. So we should be able to teach our watch how to talk directly to parse. So let's test this. So we're going to steal both of these lines.
Well, they'd have to. Oh, that is the problem.
Yeah, because you can't log in from the watch.
I mean, we could have them log in once from the phone and then save it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so we'll go down here into our main screen. Actually, we have something that's even behind that. Here's our extension delegate. So this guy's equivalent to our app delegate up there. So I can import parse here. Does it not?
No such module.
We had that app delegate, didn't we? Oh, no.
Does the watch not support parse?
No, that's not that the watch doesn't. It's that Cocoa Pods. Well, it's possible the watch doesn't. But right now, there's two projects in here. There's our...
With how the watch functions itself, it doesn't always communicate through the phone anyways. So why would the watch have to know, for communication purposes, doesn't the watch know what the phone knows?
Well, this is just a linking issue. The dice roll extension, this guy, doesn't have access to the parse library, this framework. Actually, it's not that framework. It's the parse framework that lives in here. This guy. So can I?
Having a pod install in that folder.
No, we're doing it in the whole folder. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, that's.
Like actually put a pod file associated with the extension. Is this guy treated as a separate project? It looks like he is treated as a separate project right now.
For sure.
Yeah,
Like you can
pods
go and open up just the pod project.
Let me see who has access. We have multiple targets here.
Let's say it is just the dice roller.
I'm thinking we don't. Yeah, I'm thinking we don't have. It wasn't added to our
Okay.
the watch target.
Missed a checkbox or something. I didn't think about checking that box.
So let's see if we can. Actually, it'll be this guy. It'll actually be in dice roller. Here's our various targets. So let's look at how it's linked frameworks is the pods framework, but we don't have it in this guy, which makes it even worse because you can't. So in general, for the phone, we can have linked frameworks. For a watch,
Oh wait, click on the one.
We can't have linked frameworks.
I think I just saw it on the. Well, what's the other one?
Oh, this is
frameworks and libraries.
Oh, that's the extension. This is the WatchKit app. Okay. So we can link our pods framework here. No such module. Okay, it's still ticked off about that. Let's just take it out for a moment.
Do a pods update.
It's rejected as an implicit dependency. Contain platform watch simulator in its supported platforms. Okay, so it looks like we cannot actually, or at least we can't do that with pods directly. Okay, hold on. So that means that we could go into the watch. Let's go here. Let's go here. Let's get rid of our pods framework. But let's try to add parse, which I think also is going to require bolts, but let's just see if we can get ticked off about the same thing.
Target parse of project pods.
Yeah, it's only for the iPhone OS. Okay, well, probably made sense for that not to work, but one can hope. All right, so looks like we are going to have to do the communication through the phone. So the phone receives the messages. We're going to have the phone store those things locally, but let's not use user defaults anymore. Now we're going to go ahead and use write stuff to parse. So let's open up our project in parse. Okay, and let's go ahead and drop this class.
Missed the T.
Okay, so that guy's now gone. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new class. And we're going to call it's going to be a custom class, and we're going to call this the role class. Okay, and a role is going to have a, we can actually do this relatively interestingly, I think. Let's just do it the brute force way first. So a role is going to have a, if we look back at our output here, it has a collection of individual roles and then a total. So a role will have a total and then a detail. For right now, let's just do it as two strings. Total and a detail, or an int and a detail. Okay, so let's go back out here to parse. So we're going to add a column. First guy's going to be a number, and this guy's going to be called total. All right, and then we'll add another column. This guy's going to be a string. Later on, we're probably going to have them be an array of role objects, but let's just start off by just getting something stored. Okay, so this guy will be a string, and we will call it details. Good enough. All right, so we have that. Now, let's go and teach our, whenever we receive that message, let's save a role. Okay, so we know right now that if I am in, let's get rid of our, here's the extension, here's the dice roller, here's our user homepage. We know that if we're in here and we just received a message, we know that we're already logged in. We could not have gotten into the user homepage without being logged in. Okay? So, having said that, we're going to add another column here. Every role is owned by a user. Okay, so we're going to create another column, and this guy is going to be a pointer. The target class is going to be the user class, and we're going to call this owner ID. All right, so this will be a pointer to the person who actually owns this role. All right, so now we want to go ahead and save a role that we just received to the cloud every time this guy gets called. Okay, so let's go and go to our objects. I'm going to just steal this real quick and then we'll modify it.
I'm a big fan of parts.
All right, so we're going to call this guy a role. He's going to be a PF object of type role. And we're going to say role owner ID is equal to phone core dot current user. And it wants it as an actual user, so that'll be the pointer. We don't want his object ID. Then we're going to say role total is equal to, so now we need to start splitting these guys up. So let's go ahead and give ourselves a variable up here. So we'll say let the message equal that. So we'll receive our message. And we'll go ahead and do that with it. So that way it doesn't have the optional crap around it. And then we're going to go ahead and we're going to split on that dude. So we're going to do let parts equal the message dot components separated by string, and the string is going to be I guess for right now, just so we don't have to do any weird trimming, because I remember that was a nightmare. We'll just store, we'll split it on space, arrow space. Okay, so we'll get our two parts without any extra crap on them. All right, that might have been phrasing. Yeah, I think possibly. All right, so in any case, now we have our parts. So the owner ID, we have the owner ID. The total is going to be the second part. So that's going to be parts at bucket 1, but that guy's going to come out as a string. We want to turn him into a number, an int. Okay, that's our total. And then we're going to say role at bucket details is going to be equal to parts at bucket 0. And then we'll go ahead and tell our role to save themselves in the background. And we won't do any sort of, oh, I need to import parse in here. Now he's happy. Let's move that to be a let. All right, so we'll receive our message. So every time we receive a message, we'll go ahead and split it up, create a brand new role object, set the ID of it to whoever's the current logged in user, store the total, store the details, ask the role object to save themselves in the background. We're not going to do anything right now. This will just prove that we can receive our messages. So anytime this guy gets called, we'll be logged in. So we'll go ahead and leave our phone on for right now. Actually, we're going to have to log back into the phone since we just added code to the phone. So let's do that, and then we'll go on to the watch and do some roles, and we should see them now get stored up in parse. Okay, so now we're into the application. Launch the watch. Time travel. All right.
How'd you time travel?
it this guy? Yeah, there we go. So we'll go ahead and do a roll. Did you receive the message? Oh, we're not printing it out anymore. So I think we just did 2 rolls. We should be able to go now check parse. Refresh this. And we now have 2 rolls in here. For the 2 rolls we did, owned by the same dude. Here's the totals. Here's the details. Make sense? So now what we can do, and just to clean this up a little bit, so it's currently our, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of main TVC. We'll recreate them later. We'll get rid of this guy too. We'll recreate him later. Get rid of this guy too. I don't remember what he did. I'm sure it's not important, and certainly not something that Levi's familiar with. So, Levi's like, so I really missed nothing, is what you're saying. All right, so we'll go back into our main storyboard. So let's go ahead and delete some stuff. All right, so we still have our login. There's our role history. We're going to dump that, which means we no longer need that button. That's our register page. Still need that. There's our user home page. Here's our roles TVC. Well, yeah, we're just streamlining now because those are a lot of sample stuff, right? Yeah. All right. So once we're on this screen, we're going to go ahead and let this guy be a table view controller. So we have a user that's logged in. We don't even need to display who's logged in now. We kind of proved that works, so we'll dump that too. So we're going to undo your homework assignment.
That's 5 minutes I took on that.
That's right. Important stuff. Time you'll never get back.
I know.
So we'll get rid of that guy. All right. And then inside of our storyboard here, we'll go ahead and throw a table view, and let's just get this guy at least hooked up and showing something for the moment. All right, so that's going to be our table view for right now. We're going to set his data source and delegate equal to the view controller that is his owner, which means now we need to have our user homepage guy here. He's no longer just a WC session delegate. He's now also a UI table view data source and a UI. Actually, I think, well, we got to do delegate too. UI table view delegate. Okay, he's both of those dudes now. That's fine. You're not going to give me the option to fix it? It's very, very, very white of you. Recorded. Christian Worldview.
Don't let it play on the internet. We'll have a Chicago on us.
All right, so we need to go ahead and grab some of those methods. So I'm going to open up documentation, UI table view data source, and we need our, we'll definitely need this guy. Ooh. Should have probably copied those. No problem. Fix this in a moment. Grab all those. All right, so I got what I need. Delete this file. Go back into this file. And now magically I have all of these functions that I didn't have before. Okay, but they're no longer overrides, they're normal functions. And we're going to have one section, and we'll have 5 rows, and then for each of those rows we want to configure the cell, and we'll have a reuse identifier of cell, which means we need to go and connect that guy up. So we need to give this guy a prototype cell, like this, dynamic prototypes, 1 cell, reuse identifier, cell, go back in here, cell.textLabel.text is equal to blah. Save that. Oh, it's wrong place. And he's no longer an override, he's just a normal function because we're not a UI table view controller. Okay. So now this screen should have 5 blahs on it when we run this, proving that our table view is hooked up. And there's our 5 blahs. So what we'll do for next time is we want to actually read from, so somebody write this down to remind me. We want to read from parse and fill this guy up with the objects that are in parse that are currently owned by the user who's logged in.
It's not just our homework.
Make sense? Well, I'm not going to give you homework or a break unless you want it.
No, thank you.
Really?
I'll pass.
Sure, Levi?
I mean, all I got to do is work, so.
He wasn't going to do it anyway. All right. Have a good break. If you're traveling, be safe. See you on